What's going on, everybody? It's Answer X back in another chapter review, and today we have Kagurabachi, chapter 128. And right off the bat, Hokazono is writing his ass off. This is my chapter of the week. I think we've seen Kunishige's character built up, right? And I love how I hate to bring up Chainsaw Man because I know the ending was just, everybody was just everywhere, but the one interpretation you can make of the Chainsaw ending was that, Denji's character, he was flawed. He was no matter what he was gonna do, it was gonna be bad. So it was just good to just end it and reset it, because if he had this power, he couldn't control himself, right? And look where it was leading. And that's the one interpretation you can take of it. And the reason why I mentioned that is we have Kunishige here, and it's easy to say, oh, this character has low self-esteem, or he's confused, or he's misguided, or whatever you want to say. But he's kind of written in a way where there's no way out. And that's why it's such a tie into my last chapter title of Kunishige's Resolve, because he has no choice but to make the swords, right? He's written him so well where you don't feel bad for him. You can't feel anything towards him, because it's one of those characters where it's like he has no choice but to do the thing, right? He has no choice but to make the swords. And that's kind of why he's never even pushed Chihiro to make swords. Because it's like, is that your cross to bear? Is this even my cross to bear? He's like, and I remember even reading it, I'm like, we don't even have anything. He's just making these, he knows this is all he has, right? And I love that, everybody's kind of playing on, this, his internal monologue. So let's just get into it, and I kind of go into it a little more. And, we just have your Rita Sensei just, helping fight, and, he's kind of aura farming a little bit, you need a better blade. And then we just see this moment here where, he's like, you really valuing this sword, creating this sword over your life? And he's like, and then we go into this panel where he's kind of speaking, he's like, he's just desperate to be the hero who rescues her. And it's like, he's a nobody with nothing to lose. And that's true. Hold on. But that part is true. He does have nothing to lose. Does he gain anything? He knows he also doesn't gain anything either. And that's the funny part. He doesn't gain anything because he knows the outcome of what's to come because of the Chiaki's vision. But I also like that this guy is just kind of speaking for him there. Oh, he's desperate. He's not desperate. I don't want to say he's desperate. I just think it's a character who's generally doesn't have, who's been, when you get so defeated by life, you get tunnel visioned, right? And I think that's what happens, You just take an L after an L after an L. And I don't know if anybody, watching this video has ever just been so down in life where you're like, if I do this one thing and it works, it will open another door. And the thing is, all you need to see is another door open. And then you're like, maybe my one decision was right. Because ultimately, everything else is failing in my life. And that's him right now. And that's perfectly fine where you get there, because sometimes you just need to open a couple doors, even if it may not be, like in this case, obviously we never have anything where we're creating, cataclysmic swords, right? But sometimes you need to keep opening several doors, and hopefully it leads to getting you out of your circumstances. And that's what he has to do. And you can't judge him for this. And that's why I love, he's the real spark we must put out, right? Because they know that the prophecy says that it is possible, right? But I also love that, everything's like a play on itself, right? The dialogue. He is a spark. And that's why the play on the red eyes, right? As well. And then we go into this where he's saying that, the Princess Shaki's vision was part of the reason why the enchanted blade was rejected. She's predicted smelting would be dangerous. She didn't want this. And then he says that she's protecting me even now because she knows that him creating this, he might get killed during the process. So she already knew this. So he's like, yo, my girl's protecting me. Sheba's protecting me. What? My mom tells me, he goes, My mom's like, don't grow up to be like him. My dad's shaming, my dad's proud of me though that I have these eyes and I have this ability like him. Like, what would that do to your psyche? What would that do to your mind state that your abuser is the only one praising you? You're defenseless in your life, and the only gift you have is your dad's gift. What would you do? Would you purposely just give it up out of spite? Or do you go, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to use this gift regardless of who that person was, and I'm going to turn it into something. But the crazy thing, though, is that his own gift hurt, right? And that's the thing. He says his own katana hurt Chiaki. And then now we know in the future his katanas are the one reason behind this war. It's like, dude, this guy, Kunishige, has been screwed from jump. How could you not love this character? And I love that he's so written so like in the beginning we're just like, it's like whatever, dad. Because it's like, dude, you're so defeated that like every decision you've made in life was you were damned if it's literally Dune. It kind of reminds me of Dune. Like Paul has no choice but to become, the Lisan al-Gaib. I don't even know, the Mujahideen, right? He has no choice because everything was set up for him. It's like the same thing here. His dad kind of put him in a predicament where this life he's gonna live, and he's trying his best to overcome it. And he's like, I was so ashamed that my dad praised it. And then, like I said, his mom's like, I'm gonna, Mom, I'm gonna protect you. And obviously, ultimately, he doesn't. In the end, I never managed to protect a single person I care about. And then we fast forward to the future, and he still can't. Man. And I love the ending where, it's like a play on everything he's in his mind. Nitogo's like, no, this time you take the glory. Like, even though you're creating the sword that we know is going to happen, you got to take some pride in it. And it's like, man. And that's why it's even crazier that he becomes this national hero, right? Just for creating these swords. Even though, so it's like a spin, right? It's like an inversion of his dad. And then I think that's mostly the review on this chapter. But one thing I want to say, because I don't want to make this review too long, but because we've seen, like, there's a real fight here, right? And I've said this in the last chapter, and I think people really understand me when I say this, that, like, Chihiro he doesn't have this. He doesn't have this, like, backstory-esque tragic fight built up, like, nowhere to go. Because at the end of the day, Akamura lets him live because that's his sister's son, right? That's his nephew, right? So he doesn't have to necessarily, in a sense, kill him, right? He doesn't need to go against Akamura, right? So what I'm trying to say is there has to be a time skip. There needs to be Akamura reigning over Japan. There needs to be some real deal Chihiro back against the wall. He's the rebel again, like his dad. He needs to be, I'm taking Akamura down. I'm going to look like the bad guy in this situation where people are against me, because that would be a parallel there. Because him just going, yes, it just doesn't. Chihiro needs his own reasons to fight, right? Like, he needs his own resolve. Like, Kunishige has his own resolve. And we see it's clear as day, right? Like, this chapter, like I said, I'm kind of blown away. This chapter was so good. Kunishige, it just reminds me of just like, like I said, I've been down before, where I'm just like, man, I need to catch a break. And, in his break, he's like, man, I'm just going to go. And that's why at the end, he's like, I don't care, man. I'm going to make this sword. I don't care. If I die, I die, And I don't know if you guys have ever been there, but like, man, if I die, I die. I do not care. I do not care anymore. And that's why I love this chapter. I resonate with this chapter. Kunishige has just jumped into my top characters for the series. But let me know what you guys think in this chapter review. Hamster X out.